We're going to talk about how you add integers utilizing two simple methods, right? You could talk about adding integers as well by taking the absolute value of both numbers. You could solve adding integers by utilizing a horizontal or vertical number line. But for this particular video, we're going to utilize the same sign in different signs method. So if we take a look at number one, we have -4 plus +8. One of them is negative, the other one's positive, which means they have different signs. So we're going to utilize this method here, the different signs method. So I first want you to ignore the negative sign. Which number's larger, 8 or 4? Well, 8's larger, so let's take our larger number, in this case 8, and subtract our smaller number. So 8 minus 4 is going to give us 4. And the second part of our rule says keep the sign of the larger number. So which number was larger, 8 or -4? Well, 8's larger and it's positive, which means my final answer needs to be positive as well. So final answer for number one is 4. Now taking a look at number two, we have a negative number plus another negative number. They have the same sign, they're both negative. So we simply need to add them together. Well, 10 plus 15 is 25. And then we need to keep the sign the exact same. If both numbers were negative, then our final answer also needs to be negative. So for number two, our final answer is -25. Okay, moving on to 3, we have different signs again. So let's ignore our negative. Which one's larger, 11 or 6? Well, 11's larger, so take your larger minus your smaller. 11 minus 6 is going to give us +5. Then go back and take a look at your larger number. Well, 11's positive, which means my final answer also needs to be positive. For number 4, again, we have same signs, so we simply add them together. 8 plus 18 is 26, and then keep the sign the exact same. They're both negative, so my final answer also has to be negative. For number 5, again, we have different signs. Ignore your negative. Which one's larger? Well, 12's larger, so take your larger one minus your smaller one. 12 minus 9 is 3. Then go back and take a look at your large number. Well, 12 was positive, so my final answer also needs to be positive. And finally, our last one, we have different signs once again, so ignore your negative. Which one's larger, 13 or 5? Well, 13's larger, so 13 minus 5 is 8. And if you go back and take a look at your large number, well, 13 was negative, so my final answer also needs to be negative. Right now, before you go, I have 6 problems I want you to try on your own. All right, so we have a little practice session here for you. I encourage you to pause the video here, try out questions 7 through 12, just on a sheet of paper. When you think you have all the correct answers, come back and play the video and see if you got them all right. So I'm assuming at this point you've paused the video, tried them all out, and let's go ahead and go over them. So for number 7, we have same signs. So simply add them together. 7 plus 11 is 18. Then we have to keep the sign the exact same. They were both negative, so my final answer should also be negative. So I get -18 for number 7. For number 8, we have different signs. Ignore your negative. Which one's larger? Well, 14 is, so larger number minus smaller number. 14 minus 8 is 6. Then go back and take a look at your larger number. Well, 14 was my larger one, and it was negative, which means my final answer needs to be -6. For number 9, different signs again. So ignore your negative. Which one's larger, 11 or 6? Well, 11 is, so larger minus smaller. 11 minus 6 is 5. And then keep the sign of the large number. Well, 11 was positive, so my final answer needs to be positive as well. For number 10, again, we have different signs. Ignore your negative. Which one's larger? 19 is, so 19 minus 16, we get a 3. Go back and take a look at your sign of your large number. Well, 19 was negative, so my final answer also has to be negative. For number 11, we have the same signs, so simply add them together. Well, 2 plus 7 is 9. Since they're both negative, make sure you keep the sign as well, so this should be -9. And finally, our last one for number 12, different signs. Ignore your negative. Which one's larger? Well, 21 is, so 21 minus 15 is going to give us 6. Go back and take a look at your larger number. Well, 21 was negative, so my final answer needs to be negative as well. So hopefully you went 6 for 6 in the practice session, and you can add integers just fine using these two simple methods. If you want to see it done in absolute value or number lines, horizontal or vertical, feel free to check the links in the description. I appreciate you all for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next one.